The conference room fell silent. Everyone in the United Nations building stopped talking. Ambassador Dae-hyun stood near his desk, watching the hologram appear in the air above them. His hand shook slightly as he put down his tablet. This was real. This was actually happening. Secretary General Hana spoke into the microphone. Her voice was quiet, but everyone could hear her. She had spent 20 years learning how to stay calm during meetings. But now even she could not hide her fear. She told everyone that the message was coming from space. From very far away, from somewhere beyond their solar system. The hologram became clearer. It showed a creature that looked almost human, but not quite. Its skin seemed to change colors like oil floating on water. It had 4 eyes instead of 2. When it opened its mouth to speak, computers around the room translated its words into many languages at once. Korean, English, Spanish, Chinese, and dozens more. The creature said its name was Velnash. It came from something called the Galactic Concordance. It told them that aliens had been watching Earth for a long time, watching humans grow and build and learn. Now, humans had reached an important moment in their history, a dangerous moment. Dae-hyun picked up his tablet again. His fingers felt cold. Around him, representatives from every country on Earth sat frozen in their chairs. Some looked amazed. Some looked terrified. Security guards stood by the doors with their hands on their weapons. But their guns seemed useless now. What good was a pistol against beings who could cross the stars? Velnash continued speaking. He said the galaxy was a dangerous place. There were bad aliens out there. Violent aliens who wanted to hurt young civilizations like Earth, who wanted to destroy them or make them slaves. The Concordance existed to protect species like humans. They were offering Earth membership, protection, safety, and technology that humans could not even imagine yet. Hana gripped the podium in front of her. She asked what this membership would cost. What would Earth have to give in return for this protection? The aliens' answer was simple. Earth just needed to accept their guidance. Let them control human military development. Let them decide what weapons humans could build and where humans could explore. Give up all weapon programs to the Concordance for safekeeping. In exchange, they would defend Earth from all the terrible threats waiting in the darkness of space. Captain Jiwoo sat in the back row of the assembly hall. She wore her Navy uniform, which made her stand out among all the diplomats in their business suits. She had served in the military for 20 years. She had seen combat. She had fought pirates and smugglers, and something about this offer made her stomach turn. She leaned toward her assistant and whispered urgently. She needed a secure phone line to Seoul immediately. As Velnash explained more details about Earth's salvation, Jiwoo felt increasingly uncomfortable. She had heard speeches like this before, in port cities where criminal gangs offered protection to shopkeepers, in war zones where warlords told villages they would keep them safe. The pattern was always the same. Pay us, give us control, trust us, or else. Jiwoo stood up suddenly. Her chair scraped against the floor. Every person in the massive room turned to look at her. Even the alien's 4 eyes focused on her position. Ambassador Dae-hyun looked surprised, but he gestured for her to speak. Whatever she wanted to say, he would let her say it. Jiwoo walked down the aisle between the seats. Her boots clicked on the marble floor. Her voice carried clearly through the silent room. She said she had a question. An important question. Velnash claimed he would protect Earth. He said the galaxy was full of danger, but he had left out crucial information. She paused. Everyone waited. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Jiwoo let the silence stretch out for a few more seconds. Then she asked her question. Just 2 simple words, from who? The question hung in the air like a sword hanging by a thread. Velnash stopped moving. His mouth parts froze. For the first time since the transmission started, the alien seemed confused, uncertain, almost worried. The alien started to answer, but his words stumbled. He said there were many threats, various dangers, multiple hostile forces, but he did not name any of them. Jiwoo pressed harder. She told Velnash to name just one threat, just one enemy. If Earth was supposed to give up its defenses, its freedom, its right to build its own technology, then surely the Concordance could name who they were being protected from, could show evidence of these threats. Or were humans supposed to simply believe whatever they were told? Secretary General Hana's eyes went wide. She understood now. Around the chamber, delegates began whispering to each other. The question had cut through all the impressive technology and fancy words. It struck at the heart of the problem. They were being asked to give up everything based on threats that no one would name. Velnash's hologram flickered like a bad television signal. He said the threats were classified. For Earth's own protection, he could not reveal details about the enemies. He claimed it was too dangerous to share that information. Jiwoo laughed. But it was not a happy laugh. She said the word slowly. Classified. So Earth was supposed to give up everything based on threats that Velnash refused to name. That was not protection. That was control dressed up in pretty words. That was subjugation with a bow on top. The alien's calm appearance cracked further. He said humans did not understand. They were too young, too naive. Galactic politics were complicated. Humans could not possibly comprehend the complex situation. Ambassador Dae-hyun stood up from his seat. He had found his courage now. His voice was cold and hard. He said humans understood extortion perfectly well. Captain Jiwoo was correct. Either the Concordance could provide evidence of these threats or this conversation was finished. The hologram became unstable. Velnash's form started breaking apart at the edges. He said humans were making a terrible mistake. Without Concordance protection, Earth would face consequences. Dire consequences. Hana stood tall at the podium. She said Earth would take its chances. She called for a vote. She moved to reject the Concordance offer until they received full disclosure and proof of these alleged threats. She asked who agreed with this decision. Every single delegate voted yes. The decision was unanimous. Not one person voted to accept the alien's offer. The transmission cut off suddenly, but Velnash's last words echoed through the chamber before he disappeared. He said that Earth would face the consequences alone, that humans would regret this choice. Jiwoo looked across the hall. She made eye contact with Ambassador Dae-hyun. They both knew what would happen next. Earth had just announced to the entire galaxy that humanity refused to be frightened by vague threats. They would not surrender their freedom without knowing what danger they supposedly faced. They would not give up their rights based on fear alone. Jiwoo had asked a simple question. 2 words, from who? Now humanity would have to live with whatever answer came, and that answer might arrive with weapons and violence. But at least they would face it with their eyes open. At least they would fight for their freedom rather than trading it away for empty promises. The delegates began talking again. Some looked proud. Some looked worried. Some looked absolutely terrified. But they had all agreed. They had all chosen freedom over safety, truth over comfortable lies, and now they would discover if that choice was wise or fatal. Time would tell. The galaxy would answer, and humanity would be ready. 3 months passed after humanity rejected the Concordance offer. Dr. Bora worked late at her desk in the Seoul National University Radio Astronomy Lab. She stared at the data flowing across her computer screen. The patterns made no sense. Something was out there. Something was watching Earth. Actually, many somethings were watching. Her graduate student rushed over to her desk. His voice was urgent and scared. He told Bora that the signals were getting stronger. There were multiple sources, different ships or stations. All of them were focusing their attention on Earth. They were triangulating, getting ready for something. Bora typed rapidly on her keyboard. She isolated different frequencies and analyzed each signal separately. What she discovered made her blood feel like ice water. 7 distinct signatures, 7 different groups. All of them were coming toward Earth from different directions. But these were not Concordance ships. These were something else entirely. She grabbed her phone and called Captain Jiwoo. After the United Nations incident, Jiwoo had given Bora a direct emergency number. Now Bora used it. She spoke quickly. Earth had company. Multiple contacts approaching. Unknown origins. And they were not trying to hide anymore. At the new Earth Defense Command headquarters in Geneva, Jiwoo stood before a large holographic display. It showed the incoming vessels as red dots on a map of space around Earth. General Tae-yang stood beside her. His face was grim as he watched the tactical information scroll past. Intelligence Officer Yoon Seo gave her report. 7 different alien species were approaching. The AI computers had been studying their transmission patterns. The 7 groups were not working together. In fact, at least 2 of them appeared to be enemies with each other. They were competing, not cooperating. Jiwoo muttered under her breath. So much for the unified galactic threat that Velnash had warned them about. She asked Yoon Seo what Earth knew about these approaching ships. What were their intentions? Ambassador Daehyun entered the command center. He was still adjusting his security badge as he walked quickly to join them. He said the translation teams had been working non-stop. They had intercepted and decoded several alien transmissions. The messages were disturbing. Jiwoo needed to hear them immediately. Daehyun played the first recording. The voice was rough and harsh, nothing like Velnash's smooth way of speaking. The speaker identified itself as Warlord Kresh of the Talon Imperium. The message was short and brutal. Humans had rejected Concordance protection. Therefore, Earth was now classified as unaffiliated territory. The Talon Imperium claimed salvage rights. They were coming to take what they wanted. A second transmission played next. This voice sounded artificial, like a robot or computer, cold and emotionless. It called itself Collective Node 847. It said biological resources had been detected on Earth. It was beginning acquisition protocol. It planned to process humans into something called network biomass. General Tae Yang's jaw clenched tight. He said quietly that these aliens were talking about humans like they were cattle, like Earth was just a farm waiting to be harvested. Daehyun said there was more. He played a third recording. This one came from a group calling themselves the Commerce Guild. They discussed Earth like it was a business opportunity. They said the human homeworld possessed significant rare element deposits. There was no concordance protection in place. They recommended immediate strip mining operations before competing interest arrived. Jiwoo felt rage building in her chest like fire. These were the threats. These were the enemies that Velnash refused to name. And now they were all coming at once. Yunseo asked the obvious question. Why did Velnash not just tell humans about these threats? If these dangers were real, why keep them secret? A new voice answered from the doorway. Everyone spun around. Standing at the entrance was a figure wearing an environmental suit. When the helmet pulled back, they saw a being that looked almost human, but its skin changed color slightly and its eyes held ancient sadness. Eyes that had seen too much. The being said its name was Kairen. It came from a species called the Remnants. They were what remained of civilizations that had accepted concordance protection long ago. Kairen's voice was heavy with old sorrow. The threats were real, very real. But they were not external threats. They were manufactured, created on purpose. Jiwoo approached slowly. Her hand moved near her sidearm. She told Kairen to explain everything, quickly and clearly. Kairen gestured toward the holographic display showing the approaching fleets. The explanation was simple but horrible. The Concordance found promising species like humanity. They offered protection. If a species refused, the Concordance triggered a clause in their treaties with criminal organizations and raiders. Salvage rights, they called it. Species without protection became fair game. It created a crisis. It forced young civilizations to accept Concordance terms or be destroyed. General Tai Yang asked what happened if a species accepted the protection offer. Kairen's skin shifted through sad colors. When a species accepted, they became a protectorate. Their weapons were confiscated for safekeeping. Their expansion was limited to certain areas. Their resources were shared for the common good of the Concordance. Within 3 generations, they stopped being an independent civilization. They became a vassal state, a puppet. Kairen's own people had learned this truth too late to save themselves. Daehyun slammed his fist down on the table. His face was red with anger. It was a protection racket, the oldest scam in history, just scaled up to galactic size. Thugs demanding payment for protection from threats they themselves controlled. Kairen said it was worse than a simple protection racket. It was systematic. The Concordance maintained galactic order by keeping everyone dependent and afraid. Young species were never allowed to become strong enough to threaten the status quo, and the raiders got rich from salvage operations, while the Concordance maintained their moral authority and appearance of benevolence. Everyone won except the victims. Jiwoo looked at the incoming vessels on the display. 7 different threats descending on Earth like vultures circling dying prey. She asked how long humanity had before the attacks began. Yunseo checked her instruments. 6 days until the first fleet reached optimal striking distance. 6 days to prepare for war. General Tai Yang spoke grimly. 6 days to prepare for a war humanity was never supposed to fight. Because they asked the wrong question. Kairen corrected him softly. They asked the right question. Humans were the first species in 300 cycles to ask it. The first to see through the deception. That was why Kairen came to Earth. To help humanity survive what came next. To give them a fighting chance. Jiwoo turned to face her team. Scientists, soldiers, diplomats, all of them looking to her for leadership. She told them to get started immediately. If the Concordance thought Earth would surrender because they sent their attack dogs, those aliens were about to learn something important about humanity. Kai-Ren asked what lesson humanity would teach. Jiwoo smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. It was the smile of a predator baring its teeth. She said humans did not respond well to ultimatums, and humanity really did not like being underestimated. The galaxy was about to discover that Earth was not helpless prey. They were going to fight back. And they were going to win. The command center exploded into activity. People rushed to their stations. Phones rang. Computers hummed. The war was coming whether humanity wanted it or not. But they would not face it as victims. They would face it as warriors defending their home. And the Concordance would learn that some species cannot be intimidated. Some species fight back. And humanity was one of them. The war room buzzed with constant activity. Earth's brightest minds worked through the night without sleeping. Kai-Ren stood before a holographic display pointing out weaknesses in each approaching fleet. His knowledge was proving invaluable. The Talon Imperium relied on brute force. Heavy shields and kinetic weapons. Simple but effective. The Collective used swarm tactics with networked drones, thousands of small ships working as one mind. The Commerce Guild was actually the least threatening militarily. They preferred hiring mercenaries rather than fighting themselves. But together, all 7 groups created an overwhelming force. Dr. Bora looked up from her mathematical equations. She pointed out something important. These groups were not allies. They were competitors. They were racing each other to claim Earth first. Earth should not fight them together. Earth should make them fight each other instead. Jiwoo leaned over the tactical display. Her mind was working fast. What if humanity made the raiders think Earth was not worth the trouble? What if they believed attacking would cost more than they would gain? Ambassador Daehyun raised an eyebrow. He told Jiwoo to explain her idea more clearly. Jiwoo pointed at the alien communications. All of them assumed humans were defenseless, primitive, easy targets. What if Earth let them keep thinking that while preparing a surprise? What if humanity set a trap? Kai-Ren's skin shifted to an interested amber color. He understood immediately. Earth wanted to set a trap. But better than that, they wanted the raiders to spring the trap on each other. General Taeyang caught on to the plan. He asked Yunseo how good Earth's signals intelligence was. Could they forge convincing alien transmissions? Yunseo's grin was predatory, like a wolf showing its teeth. She said Earth's intelligence capabilities were good enough to make the aliens' mothers weep with pride. She could forge anything they needed. Over the next 72 hours, humanity launched its counteroffensive. But they did not use weapons. They used information warfare instead. Forged transmissions flooded the communication channels between the approaching fleets. The Talon Imperium received intelligence suggesting the Collective had secretly negotiated exclusive salvage rights with humans. The Collective got similar evidence pointing to the Commerce Guild. The Commerce Guild learned that both the Imperium and Collective were planning to eliminate competitors after the conquest. Yunseo reported on day 4 that the strategy was working. The Commerce Guild was pulling back. They were hiring defensive mercenaries instead of offensive ones. They wanted protection from the other raiders now. The Imperium and Collective were repositioning their ships. They were watching each other more carefully than they were watching Earth. But Jiwoo was not celebrating yet. She asked about the other 4 fleets, the ones that had not changed course or behavior. Kai-Ren manipulated the holographic display. He highlighted the remaining threats. The Scourge Swarm, the Void Syndicate, the Breaker Clans, and the Harvester Collective. These were true believers. They did not care about competition or politics. They saw genocide as religious duty, profit, honor, or sustenance. They would not be fooled by information warfare. Dr. Bora said it was time for Phase 2 of the plan. She pulled up astronomical data on her screen. All the raiders were approaching from different directions. Each one assumed they would arrive to find a defenseless planet. What if they found a war zone instead? Daehyun spoke slowly as he understood. Earth wanted to make the raiders think humans were already being invaded. But by whom? Who would scare these raiders away? Bora's smile was almost manic with excitement. By the Concordance itself. Earth would fake a Concordance invasion fleet and make it look like Earth was winning the fight. The room fell completely silent. Then Jiwoo started laughing. Real laughter, not nervous laughter. She said the plan was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. General Taeyang nodded slowly as he thought through the implications. The Concordance offered protection. Humans refused. Now Earth would fake a Concordance invasion fleet, one that was losing badly. Make it look like humanity fought back against their would-be protectors and won decisively. Yun Seo added more details. Earth would broadcast the fake battle on every frequency. Let everyone in nearby space see that the mighty Concordance met their match against a species they deemed primitive. It would destroy the Concordance's reputation and make humanity look dangerous. Too dangerous to attack casually. Kai Ren's skin flashed through colors so quickly it almost turned white. He said the plan was insane. The Concordance would know it was a deception. They would see through the trick immediately. Jiwoo countered his concern. Would they know for certain? Or would they wonder if one of their members went rogue? If there was an unauthorized operation? Large conspiracies bred paranoia. The Concordance would spend months investigating themselves, looking for traitors in their own ranks. Kai Ren pressed the question. What about the raiders? What would they think? Ambassador Daehyun finished the thought. Raiders would think twice before attacking a species that supposedly defeated a Concordance fleet. It was a bluff, a massive gamble, but it was a good bluff with a reasonable chance of success. The operation took 36 hours of frantic preparation. Decommissioned satellites were rigged with chemical explosives to create convincing debris fields. The International Space Station was evacuated. Then it was destroyed in a controlled detonation that looked spectacular from every camera angle. Earth's defense satellites began broadcasting distress calls, using Concordance military codes that Kai Ren provided. Dr. Bora reported nuclear signatures being detected. Several nations had detonated warheads in orbital trajectories. The radiation would make the story more believable. It would look like desperate humans using everything they had to defend themselves. Yun Seo announced they were broadcasting now. Every frequency, every language they had identified in the alien transmissions. The message was simple and direct. Concordance invasion force engaged and destroyed with significant Earth casualties. All approaching vessels advised that humanity was now classified as hostile and capable of defending itself. Jiwoo watched the holographic display as the false debris field expanded. Carefully staged explosions lit up space. It looked like a real battle. It looked like Earth had paid a terrible price for victory. It looked completely convincing. General Taeyang said quietly that now they had to wait. Wait and see if the bluff worked. They did not have to wait long for results. The Scourge Swarm altered course away from Earth. Their religious zeal apparently did not extend to suicide, missions against proven dangerous opponents. The Void Syndicate slowed their approach dramatically. Their profit calculations suddenly became less favorable. The Breaker clans continued approaching but began broadcasting requests for honorable combat challenges rather than simple slaughter. They wanted a fair fight now, not an easy massacre. Only the Harvester Collective kept coming at full speed. Their hunger overrode their caution. They needed to feed, and Earth represented billions of tons of biomass. They would not be deterred by reputation or risk. Jiwoo assessed the situation. 1 fleet out of 7 still committed to attack. She said she would take those odds. Much better than facing 7 simultaneous invasions. Kai Ren spoke softly. He wanted Jiwoo to understand what humanity had done. Earth had declared to the entire galaxy that humans would not be protected, would not be conquered, and would not be ignored. There was no going back from this announcement. The path forward would be dangerous. Jiwoo looked at the approaching harvester ships on the display. Then she looked at her team. Humans and aliens working together, united against a common enemy. She said one word. Good. Because humanity was just getting started. They had more surprises waiting. And the galaxy was about to learn that Earth did not back down from fights. Not ever. The Harvester Collective ships looked like massive metal insects, all sharp angles and segmented armor plating. Their bioscanners swept across Earth relentlessly, mapping every population center, every agricultural region, every source of potential biomass. They were treating Earth like a buffet restaurant, deciding what to eat first. Major Subin sat at her weapons console. She had spent 20 years in artillery before being promoted to head Earth's improvised space defense force. Now she commanded repurposed satellites, missile platforms, and experimental weapons that had never been tested in real combat. She muttered that the harvesters were treating humans like food on a menu. Jiwoo ordered from the command chair, "Let them get closer." Earth needed the harvesters to commit fully to their attack. "Draw them in, make them confident." Kairan stood nearby. His skin cycled through anxious color patterns. He tried to make Jiwoo understand the danger. The harvesters did not negotiate. They did not retreat. They consumed everything until nothing remained. His homeworld had been reduced to a dead rock. Stripped completely bare, Jiwoo cut him off gently but firmly. His homeworld did not have 3 months of preparation time. His people did not have a very angry planetary population ready to fight back. She asked Dr. Bora for a status report on the resonance weapon. Bora's voice came through from the research station in orbit. She sounded exhausted but excited. The theoretical model said the weapon would work. They had identified the harmonic frequency of harvester hull material. One good pulse should propagate through their entire fleet like striking a bell. The vibrations would spread from ship to ship. General Taeyang emphasized the word theoretical from his tactical station. This was all based on computer models and calculations. Earth only got one shot. If the weapon failed, there would be no second chance. Jiwoo said they had better not miss then. She watched the countdown timer. The harvester fleet was entering optimal firing range. 12 massive ships, each one carrying enough destructive power to sterilize an entire continent. Enough firepower to end human civilization. Yunseo reported that harvesters were launching harvesting pods. Small ships designed to land on Earth's surface. Trajectory analysis indicated they were targeting major population centers simultaneously. Tokyo, New York, São Paulo, Lagos, Mumbai. They were hitting everywhere at once. Jiwoo asked about civil defense preparations. Were people in shelters? Were ground forces ready? Yunseo confirmed shelters were at maximum capacity. Ground forces were in defensive positions, but if those harvesting pods made it through to the surface, millions would die. Maybe billions. Jiwoo's voice was like iron, hard and unyielding. The pods would not make it through. She asked Major Subin for a target solution. Subin's fingers moved rapidly across her control panel. Target locked. All weapons platforms synchronized. The entire defense network was ready. She told Dr. Bora they were ready for her miracle weapon. Time to see if physics worked the way the scientists predicted. Bora muttered that here goes nothing. She announced the charging sequence. Power at 90%, 95%. Maximum charge achieved. The resonance array was synchronized. She began counting down. 3, 2, 1. Firing. The weapon itself was invisible, a carefully tuned pulse of electromagnetic energy, designed to exploit a fundamental flaw in how the harvesters built their ships. Kairen provided the data about their construction. Human physicists found the weakness. Bora's team built a weapon to exploit it. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Everyone held their breath. Then the lead harvester ship began to vibrate. The oscillation was visible even from Earth. It spread through the hull like ripples on water. The metal sang at a frequency that made instruments scream. The vibration jumped to the next ship, then the next, spreading through the fleet like falling dominoes. Yunseo reported with disbelief in her voice. Hull integrity was failing across all targets. The harvester armor was resonating itself apart, tearing itself to pieces from the inside out. The harvester ships destroyed themselves. Metal screamed silently in the vacuum of space. Structural beams sheared off. Hull plates separated. Internal systems exploded in cascading failures. The harvesting pods lost their guidance systems and began tumbling off course, spinning wildly into space. Jiwoo gave the next order calmly. Major Subin should clean up the mess, destroy the tumbling pods before they could become a hazard. Subin said with pleasure in her voice that she would be happy to comply. She activated Earth's missile platforms. Conventional kinetic weapons. Nothing fancy or experimental. But against unguided pods, they were more than sufficient. One by one, the harvester pods were intercepted and destroyed. The command center erupted in cheers. People hugged each other. General Taeyang was actually smiling. Yunseo embraced her console operator. Even Ambassador Daehyun, watching from the diplomatic observation deck, allowed himself a moment of celebration. But Jiwoo remained focused on the displays. She ordered Dr. Bora to conduct a full scan of the debris field. She wanted to know if anything survived, any piece of harvester technology that might still be functional. Bora said she was already scanning. Multiple energy signatures detected, but they were fading rapidly. Then she paused. A transmission was coming through. Audio only, and it was not from the harvesters. It was from someone else entirely. The voice was familiar, cultured and measured, but now it carried something that might have been respect. Counselor Velnash identified himself. He said he believed he was speaking to Captain Jiwoo. The Concordance had been monitoring Earth's performance. The celebration died instantly. Jiwoo gestured for complete silence. She responded coldly. Had Velnash come to collect his attack dogs? A long pause followed. When Velnash spoke again, his tone was different. Did Jiwoo understand what humanity had done? Not just surviving, but broadcasting their victory. Every species in 3 sectors now knew that Earth defeated the Harvesters, that humans supposedly defeated the Concordance as well. Jiwoo observed that this fact seemed to bother Velnash. Was the Concordance concerned about their reputation? Velnash admitted it complicated things. Their arrangement with the salvage fleets was based on maintaining order through fear. Humanity introduced chaos. Several Concordance member species were now questioning why they needed protection. If a primitive civilization could defend itself so effectively, maybe protection was not necessary after all. Jiwoo repeated the word flatly. Primitive. Earth just destroyed a fleet Velnash claimed was unstoppable. That did not seem very primitive. Velnash called it clever engineering and desperation, but he said Jiwoo must know this situation could not continue. The Concordance maintained galactic stability. Human defiance threatened that stability. It could not be tolerated. Kai Ren stepped forward. His colors flashed angry red. He said Concordance stability was built on fear and exploitation. He had told humans everything about the conspiracy. Velnash's mandibles clicked with what might have been amusement. So the remnant had revealed everything. He asked Jiwoo how it felt to understand the truth. To know she was never meant to win. That every civilization faced this same choice. Submit or be destroyed. Jiwoo said coldly that it felt like Earth had options now. They proved they could fight. They proved they could win. And they proved the protection racket had a weakness. It relied on fear. But humanity was not afraid anymore. Fear was gone. Only determination remained. Velnash called them fools. They won a single battle against the least sophisticated threat. There were powers in the galaxy that would make the Harvesters look like insects. Powers that the Concordance kept in check. Ambassador Dae-hyun interjected. Then send them. Send the worst threats available. Because every species Earth defeated was another crack in the Concordance facade. How long before other protectorates started wondering why they paid for protection they might not need? Long silence stretched across the transmission. Finally, Velnash spoke again. This was not over, but perhaps humanity deserved a different conversation. They earned that much, at least. General Tae Yang said Earth was listening. What did Velnash propose? Not yet, Velnash said. First, humanity must prove this was not luck. The Breaker clans were still inbound. They sought honorable combat. If Earth defeated them as well, then they would talk as equals rather than as protector and protected. The transmission ended abruptly. Jiwoo looked around at her team. Another test was coming. Major Subin reported the resonance weapon was spent, a one-shot system. But they had data now. They knew such weapons could be built. Give her a week and she would have a prototype ready for the next battle. General Taeyang said she had 3 days instead. The Breaker clans would arrive by then, and they would be ready for a real fight this time. The Breaker clans arrived with ceremony and honor. Their ships broadcast challenge protocols in 15 different languages. They were warriors, proud and fierce. They came seeking worthy opponents to test their strength against, and they found exactly what they were looking for. The battle lasted 18 hours without pause. Earth's defenders learned quickly from every mistake. They adapted tactics and weapons with terrifying speed. Major Subin's new resonance cannon prototypes worked initially, but the Breakers had different hull metallurgy than the Harvesters. They adapted to the resonance frequency, so humanity adapted even faster. Humans used gravity wells from Jupiter's moons as weapons. They weaponized solar radiation by forcing Breaker ships through concentrated beams. They deployed swarms of microsatellites that the Breakers could not detect until too late. When all else failed, humans rammed damaged vessels into Breaker ships. Crews evacuated first, turning desperate last stands into precision strikes. Jiwoo commanded from the bridge of the retrofitted space station ISS-2. She watched as the last Breaker flagship went dark. its lights flickering out one by one. Around her, the command crew looked exhausted but victorious. They had lost ships. They had lost good people, friends and colleagues. But they won. Earth stood unconquered. Yunseo reported an incoming transmission from the Breaker flagship. Its power was failing, but they had enough left for one final message. The face that appeared was scarred and fierce, covered in ritual markings, but the eyes held respect. Real respect earned through combat. He identified himself as War Chief Thankor. He said the Breaker clans came seeking glory in battle. They found it. Human warriors fought with cunning and courage. The Breakers acknowledged their defeat with honor. Jiwoo acknowledged him formally. She said his warriors fought well. Humanity honored their sacrifice and bravery. They were worthy opponents. Thankor bared his teeth in what might have been a smile, or perhaps a grimace of pain. He said the Breaker clans would remember this day. Earth proved itself in trial by combat, the oldest and most sacred test. They were departing now, but they left with an important message. Humanity earned the right to stand alone. Any who challenged Earth now would face the memory of Breaker defeat. That memory would give pause to many potential enemies. The Breaker ships withdrew, damaged but maintaining formation. Orderly retreat. They came for honor and found it, just not in the way they expected. They expected to win glory by conquering primitives. Instead, they won glory by fighting equals and losing honorably. General Taeyang's voice came through from Earth. He said command was receiving priority communications from multiple sources across the galaxy. The Commerce Guild was requesting trade negotiations. Equal partners, not conquerors, and conquered. The Scourge Swarm declared humans theologically exempt from their crusade. And most interesting, 3 Concordance protectorates were asking Earth how they defeated the protection systems, how they won their freedom. Ambassador Dae-hyun appeared on screen. His diplomatic mask was firmly in place, but his eyes gleamed with satisfaction. He said it was time Earth had that conversation with Counselor Velnash. As equals this time, not as supplicants begging for protection. The meeting took place 2 weeks later, not on Earth and not on a Concordance station. Neutral ground. A derelict mining platform in the asteroid belt that both sides could reach easily, a place where neither side had advantage. Velnash arrived with a small delegation. Jiwoo brought Dae-hyun, General Taeyang, and notably Kairan. The remnant's presence was a deliberate statement, a reminder of what the Concordance had done to other species. Velnash greeted them formally. He said Captain Jiwoo had become quite famous in a very short time. 7 major threats turned away or defeated. The entire galaxy was talking about humanity now, wondering what made them so different. Jiwoo replied simply, "Good. Let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them question why they needed protection when Earth managed fine without it. Let the question spread." Velnash said flatly that humanity was trying to break the system, destroy the order that kept the galaxy stable. Dae-hyun countered immediately. The system was already broken. Built on fear and exploitation, the Concordance kept civilizations weak to maintain control. That was not protection. That was oppression with better public relations. One of Velnash's aides bristled at the accusation, but the counselor gestured for calm. He asked what humanity would propose instead. Without the Concordance, there would be chaos. Constant warfare. The strong preying on the weak without any limits, Kairen interjected sharply. Like they did now. The only difference was that now the Concordance profited from the violence and maintained the illusion of order. General Taeyang slid a datapad across the table. Earth proposed something different. A real alliance. Not protector and protected, but equals. Species helping each other without demanding submission. Sharing technology without restrictions. Facing threats together without manufactured crises. Velnash studied the proposal carefully. His mandibles clicked rapidly as he read. He said this would require significant restructuring. Many member species were comfortable with current arrangements. Change would be difficult. Jiwoo asked the key question. Were they really comfortable? Or were they just afraid to ask the same question Earth did? Afraid to demand truth instead of accepting comfortable lies? Velnash admitted the question was simple, but the answer was complex. There were real threats in the galaxy. Ancient powers that even the Concordance feared. Powers they managed to keep at bay through their system of protection and control. Jiwoo said to name them then. Show evidence. Let humanity face these threats together with the Concordance. Or at least let Earth make informed choices about their own defense. That was all humans ever wanted. The truth. Honesty. Real information instead of fear and manipulation. Velnash was quiet for a long time. His skin shifted through colors none of them had seen before. Uncertainty, contemplation, perhaps even regret for choices made long ago. Finally, he spoke. Very well. He would present the proposal to the Concordance Council. Show them what humanity accomplished without protection. Tell them that perhaps the galaxy needed a new model, one based on trust rather than fear, partnership rather than domination. Daehyun asked what would happen if the council refused. If they rejected the proposal, Velnash met Jiwoo's eyes directly. Then he suspected humanity would continue doing what they had been doing, proving the old ways no longer worked. Eventually, enough species would follow Earth's example. The Concordance would have no choice but to change or become irrelevant. General Taeyang pressed. Or what? What was the alternative? Velnash answered honestly. Or the Concordance would try to make an example of Earth. Try to crush the rebellion before it spread. He would do everything in his power to prevent that outcome. Because he had seen what happened when you tried to cage humanity. You did not cage them. They broke the cage and everything around it. 3 months after the meeting, the first Concordance Protectorate formally requested independence. Then another. Then 5 more in quick succession. The system was cracking. Humanity's simple question became a rallying cry across the galaxy. A revolution built on 2 words from who? Species everywhere asked when offered protection. Show us the threat. Prove it exists. Let us make our own choices. Stop treating us like children who need constant supervision. Earth became something unexpected. Not a protectorate, not an empire, but a symbol, proof that young civilizations could stand on their own. That freedom was worth fighting for. That old powers were not invincible. That courage mattered more than advanced technology. Jiwoo stood on the observation deck of Earth's first true warship. Not a retrofitted station, but a vessel purpose-built for defense. Around her, representatives from a dozen formerly protected species worked alongside human crew members, sharing knowledge, building something new together. Daehyun joined her at the viewport. He asked if she ever imagined it would go this far. That one question would spark a galactic revolution. Jiwoo smiled slightly. When she asked that question in the United Nations, no, she just wanted honesty. She wanted to understand what Earth really faced. What threats justified surrendering their freedom. Kairen said quietly that she got her answer. A galaxy-wide conspiracy built on fear, and humanity broke it by refusing to be afraid, by demanding truth instead of accepting comfortable lies. General Taeyang warned them not to celebrate too much. Velnash said there were real threats out there. Ancient ones. Eventually, Earth would have to face them. The real dangers that the Concordance actually did protect against. Jiwoo looked out at the stars. At the vast galaxy that tried to control them through fear, she said one word. Good. Because when humanity faced those threats, they would do it on their own terms, with allies they chose, weapons they built, a future they decided for themselves. Outside the viewport, more ships joined formation. Vessels from the remnants, from the breaker clans who became unexpected allies, from species who broke free of Concordance control. A fleet united not by fear or coercion, but by choice, by mutual respect and shared purpose. Humanity asked for truth. They fought for freedom. In doing so, they showed the galaxy that protection built on lies was not protection at all. It was just another form of slavery,